Alright guys, Fuller coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LDBC. So in this video, I want to talk about some more development we got going on in the home continent. You know, I'm speaking to fellow continental Africans and those who are interested in the affairs of back home, who have some kind of connection with it, no matter who you are. No matter if you're from the Caribbean, Latin America, or the United States. Now, it appears that, you know, the African Union is closer to launching a continent-wide with 55 states in agreement to a free trade agreement, a free trade area. And this actually went down in Niamey, Niger. And it was at the African Union Summit in Niger. The Nigerian president, Muhammadu Buhari, kind of spearheaded this African Continental Free Trade Area by signing the continent's largest economy onto the deal. Now, keep in mind, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that Nigeria is in a very strategic area in Africa. It's very strategic in the sense that, you know, it's a coastal country, but it's also kind of like, it has kind of all different climates in Africa in the country of Nigeria. So if you go to the far north of Nigeria, you get the Sahara. If you go to the middle of Nigeria, you get the I want to say, like, you get the Savannah, Sahel region. And then if you go to the south of Nigeria, you get the forest region. Another thing about Nigeria is it's not only oil rich, but it has everything that you can think of as far as resources goes. It has gold, it has different minerals, it has agriculture. It also has, I want to say, they just found diamonds in Nigeria as well. It has everything. In fact, one Nigerian told me that if Nigeria was ran properly, that Nigeria could feed all of Africa, no problem. Now, the thing is, with Nigeria's support, what that means is it gives way to a nation block with 55 nations worth $3.4 trillion. And so what this means is that all the African countries can now profit from each other. It will also lead to Nigeria's economy becoming bigger, but it would also lead to, I want to say, other African states' economy becoming bigger as well. And the mutual benefits of trade will lead to Africa being out of poverty, you know. The problem is with the trade is, like, when you look at Africa, African trade only makes up only 17% of the exports, which are hampered, of course, by poor infrastructure, taxes, bureaucracy, and corruption. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's true. Like, Africa has very corrupt leaders, you know, and there's still some wrinkles that need to be ironed out with this. But, I mean, it's a step in the right direction, because it makes no sense. Like, I really never got this, you know. I really tried to wrap my mind around certain practices in Africa. For example, one of my cousins who would travel to Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, they said that's one of the cleanest cities they were in. But he was confused because But the fact that like Cote d'Ivoire has probably, I think, 1/3 of the world's cocoa for like things like chocolate, and it also has, I believe, coffee. But the thing is about it is that, you know, they have planters pick the cocoa, but they send it to Belgium for Belgium to make chocolate, and then Belgium in return sells it back to them. That's very backwards. Why not do everything there? You know, cut out the middleman. That's what it's all about. Taking control of the resources. Taking control of the supply and the demand, you know. And also, what happened is they launched a payment system that will help, you know. And here's another issue we have, that, you know, African trade today is conducted on the US dollars and the euro. And, you know, what needs to happen is they need to reduce the use of third currencies in the bilateral trade settlement in Africa, you know, because it's costing us more money using those other currency, you know. And another thing about Africa, I mean, like, you don't really see that many African states like really have foreign like currency exchange, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, the only time that you really have that is you have you know, tourists coming to Africa. But the average African is not going to go to their bank and say, okay, I want some, give me some euros. I have some naira here. You know, give me some US dollars, or give me some yen. That doesn't really happen like that, you know. So, another thing too is, you know, they want the free trade to eliminate barriers and create free movement in between states. And that makes perfect sense, because, I mean, before these barriers were drawn on, you know, you had trade routes that went from, for example, you had trade routes that went like from Mali, what we know as Mali today, all the way deep into the forest region of Nigeria. You had trade routes that went from Chad, you know, that went all the way to Libya and stuff like that. You had a trade route that was in like southern Algeria that went all the way down to places like, you know, Burkina Faso and these kind of places, and Ivory Coast, you know. So this makes sense to like eliminate these stupid borders, you know. Now, they need to have still control and regulate these borders though at the same time, because unfortunately there will be like some wrongdoers who will try to take advantage of this situation for their own doing, you know. You know, and one of the guys, you know, he wants the borders to be broken because he doesn't understand why, like, a person from Niger who goes to Burkina Faso still will have constraints there. And that makes perfect sense. That makes really good sense. Now, you know, the reason why Eritrea has not signed the agreement is because they're, like, I think with Eritrea, they're still kind of having some issues with Ethiopia right now. You know, Ethiopia, you know, yeah, there's still some conflict, you know, and the thing is, this is stemming from a previous conflict, you know, and that's a different like video in itself, and hopefully I can get my Eritrean guy on here to shed light on this issue, you know, because I want him to like cook and give his piece of the story. And so I think now that the country's kind of like on some decent terms as of right now, they've asked the AU to go through with the agreement, and they're eventually are going to come on board. So over time they'll come on board. But for me, this is good because this is like kind of like what we need. The only guys who are looking at this with contempt and looking at this like as like, oh, it's not going to work, or it's foolish to do this, are definitely, of course, Europeans. You know, those are the main people who are looking at this in that matter. Now, don't get me wrong, there are probably some skeptics among Africans as well, but most of the skeptics are coming from outside the continent, who live in another continent, a continent that basically benefits from our continent being in the way it is, basically spoon feeding them everything they need, you know, because at the end of the day, I mean, if it wasn't for Africa, like, a lot of Europe would look like crap. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be really honest, you know. That's just what it is, you know. And this is no disrespect to Europeans or anything, and no disrespect to their continent, but, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know if anywhere in Europe that has oil. I don't know anywhere in Europe that has diamonds. I don't know really of anywhere in Europe that has phosphate. I don't know anywhere in Europe that has uranium. I don't know anywhere in Europe that has cobalt. So I can keep on going on and on and on, but I'm not going to do that. But my final thoughts on this is that we just got to put our feet forward. That's the thing. Like, sometimes that's part of the process of getting things right, is that you have to just kind of just step forward and keep on moving forward and just learn as you go. So this is why I'm hoping with this free trade agreement and the fact that they're trying to come out with this currency, is that this is the direction that they're going to look towards. And this is what we need, you know. This is much needed. And I hope that they carry on with this course, you know. It remains to be seen what's going to happen. But, you know, I'm going to leave one more note about this. What I hope that will happen from this agreement, what I'm hoping is this will help leaders look at the continent at large and look at their people at large, instead of looking towards Switzerland, England, and these places to put their money in, to buy mansions, to buy all these cars, and send their kids abroad to study in these places, you know. I mean, I'm not going to give her name, but I'm not going to put her out there or anything, but there's a Nigerian that I know right now. She studies at Columbia, but her dad was the former president of the country. You know what I mean? So go figure. You do the math, you know. But anyhow, you know, that's all I got, man. Leave your comments, leave your thoughts. Still looking for collabs, you know, to hop on these hangouts so we can talk about things like this, you know. These are discussions that, you know, I find important so we can move forward, man. That's what it's all about. As some of the greats said, It's always 10 toes down. Marathon continues. Forward ever, backward never, man. That's what I'm about. And, that's what I hope this agreement is about. Fuller signing out. Jadon.